Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. The controversial Keystone XL pipeline and its draft environmental statement up for public comment here in Billings tonight.
The State Department is offering the public its first and only opportunity to weigh in on the new environmental impact statement, which was ordered by a federal judge late last year who ruled the original document failed to review the project's potential effects on the environment.
All of this taking place right now at the Billings Hotel and Convention Center.
And that's where tonight's public meeting got underway just about an hour ago, and that's where we begin our team coverage.
Q2's Jay Cohn standing by now live to bring us the very latest. Jay.
Well, Russ and Jeanelle, is it just me or have we been talking about the Keystone pipeline for a decade now? And the answer is yes. TransCanada first proposed this project back in 2009, but right now the approval of this project remains on hold pending approval of the new draft environmental impact statement. And that's what this public meeting is all about tonight. What's at stake now to get this project moving forward are two permits, one from the Bureau of Land Management, the other from the Army Corps of Engineers, and it all depends on whether this draft environmental impact statement gets approved. Now, the process that's being used here tonight is what the State Department is calling an open meeting, a public open meeting format, and that was the subject of a rally prior to this open meeting tonight. Q2's Mitch Laggy is here to tell us what the concern is.
Well, Jay, as you can see behind me, protesters met here in Billings today and braved single-digit temperatures to voice their opposition against the Keystone XL pipeline. This protest is organized by the Northern Plains Resource Council, an organization that has a storied history of opposing the Keystone. They argue that the only opportunity for public comment came without enough notice, and that the open house format stifles public discussion. About 36 protesters turned out carrying signs saying things like "Protect our water" and "No DAPL." Jay?
All right, thank you very much, Mitch. Joining me now is James Dewey, is a public affairs officer with the Department of State. And James, pretty good turnout tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, we're really glad, really grateful to all the people who've come out tonight to share their comments on the Keystone XL pipeline, specifically on the supplemental environmental impact statement. And the meeting will continue to go on until 7:30 tonight, but it doesn't end there. We are welcoming public comments on the pipeline, on the environmental impact statement through November 18th. And you can just go to regulations.gov, keyword Keystone, it'll pop up, and you're welcome to put in your comments there.
How many people do you think are here tonight?
I'm not sure. We've had at least a couple hundred, I think, come out, protesting outside, but also coming inside and sharing their comments with us.
And one thing that struck me is you can go around, there's different experts to offer their input on the different parts of this environmental impact statement. So if there are any questions people have, whether it be greenhouse gas emissions, river crossings, concerns over water, the experts are here to talk one-on-one with these people.
Yeah, we're trying to make people available to the public to talk about what we've written, to have that back and forth, that real dialogue. And I just would encourage people to come down if they have time tonight. And if they don't have time tonight, we still want them to give their public comments through the internet, through regulations.gov. So.
Right. Those comments available to be made through November 18th.
That's right.
Jane, good luck with the meeting. You'll let you continue on with the work. I did talk with a couple of county commissioners, one from Prairie County, the other one from Rosebud County. They made the trip here to Billings so they could add their 2 cents into this public meeting. Both feel this is a great boon to their counties. Of course, lots of tax dollars at stake, and they're looking at trying to expand the tax base, especially in light in Rosebud County of Colstrip Units 1 and 2, perhaps closing by the end of this year, as has been told. So that's the story here from the Hotel and Convention Center. The State Department public meeting on the Keystone Pipeline still going on. We've got a little protest going on behind me. Never a dull moment here, guys. We'll have more tonight at 9 and again on 10 o'clock news. So back to you guys.
All right, Q2's Jay Cohn reporting live from the Billings Hotel and Convention Center. Thank you, Jay.
In other news tonight, a former manager at the Signal Peak Energy coal mine avoided federal prison today after helping his boss defraud the company of $2.4 million. 40-year-old Zachary Rubel conspired with Larry Price Jr. to funnel company money to build this 26,000 square foot mansion in West Billings. Now, the judge sentenced Rubel to 2 years probation for conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Rubel must also forfeit an RV and a Rolex watch as punishment. Federal prosecutors say Rubel helped Price by accepting fraudulent invoices for mining equipment, collect the disbursements, but never receive any equipment. As a reward, Price gave him a $25,000 check and an RV. Now, Price, as you see here, stole about $20 million from 3 companies, but was arrested in 2018 for faking his own death to elude creditors. Price has pleaded guilty to fraud charges and is now awaiting sentencing. And a third suspect, Stephen Kasher, former market president of Rocky Mountain Bank in Billings, is awaiting trial. Kasher has pleaded not guilty to bank fraud. And as for the mansion, it's listed for $16.5 million and is now under contract.
In Shelby, Montana, a proposal to put the local hospital up for sale is coming under fire by some. County commissioners support that move to put the county-owned Marias Medical Center up for sale, and they say private ownership will get the hospital out of the red and keep it there. Physicians at the local nonprofit clinic, Marias Healthcare Services, are questioning the move and formally asked the hospital CEO, William Kiefer, to resign last month. They see has antagonized hospital and clinic staff and has a lack of commitment to the hospital and the community, something Kiefer told MTN is not the case. The CEO of the clinic, meanwhile, says structure of the sale may prevent the clinic from being able to take over the hospital and maintain local control of healthcare services.
Concern for our clinic is how are we part of that model, as well as for the public, what does that model look like, and do we get to maintain the high quality, affordable access to care that we are used to today. The local control has been very important to our community, and the community has driven what type of health care they've wanted in the region. And when you invite outside bidders to the process, it could change what we're used to.
There will be a public hearing tomorrow night on that issue.
And on to the weather scene. Chief forecaster Bob McGuire is here with more on yesterday's teeth-chattering, record-shattering kind of day. Bob,
boy,
how cold did it get it?
It was very frosty. In fact, here in the Billings area, we got to 0 degrees for the overnight low. That's the soonest we have ever done that in Billings. So cool, interesting story. Now, if you were to go ahead and look in the record books this morning, this is what you would find. 1 degree for the record in Billings. You see a lot of sub-zero temperatures are out in the southwest. Over by Kalispell, 5 degrees. Now, let me show you what our reported high temperatures were. Whoa, yeah, we set all sorts of records across the region. Look at that over at Bozeman, 14 below, 12 below at Livingston, 10 below at Butte. Dillon was 8 below. Over there in Kalispell, yeah, they were 3 below 0. That broke the record. All the others across the state, they had other times where the records were much colder into the sub-zero range, so really not much of a change there as well. But I tell you what, things have warmed up pretty nice. Everybody's on the other side at 0 now, so we're in the process of kind of climbing out of this cold bucket, and eventually things start warming up very nicely, getting into the mid to upper 40s by the weekend. And what about Halloween? We'll chat about that in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. And while the freezing temperatures turned streets and roadways into pure ice yesterday, that didn't stop people who needed to get somewhere. It's a good reminder, though, that road conditions can change fast. A Montana Highway Patrol trooper on Twitter today says between 7 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. yesterday, MHP received 512 calls for service. That's more than double the amount of calls received the previous Monday. And here in Billings, different numbers. No, drivers also struggled. Police Lieutenant Brendan Woolley says you have to drive the conditions.
Just because the speed limit says 35 or 25 miles an hour doesn't mean that that's what you're allowed to or what you should be driving if the road conditions persist. And that includes just not only icy roads, but rainy, foggy weather. You need to reduce your speeds to drive those conditions for your safety and others.
And while law enforcement spent time assisting stranded motorists, the city of Billings was working to prevent that problem in the first place. Teams were dispatched shortly after the snow started to accumulate yesterday afternoon. Crews manning sanders and de-icers worked around the clock and through the night to try and cover the entire city. And supervisors will continually assess the road conditions to figure out if and when more work needs to be done to keep residents safe.
Well, while we trudge through snow and ice here, the fires in California rage on, and incoming winds could undo days of work to contain the flames.
Tens of thousands of acres have been scorched across wine country north of San Francisco. Evacuations forcing residents from their sleep and their homes.
In Los Angeles, the scorched shells of homes line the streets, and other residents left in the dark after fire-preventing blackouts started this morning. 2.5 million people without power tonight.
Well, from snowy to smoky, crews from across Montana taking the trek yet again to California. Both Columbus and Red Lodge fire departments, along with at least 17 other stations, are sending crews to assist.
Crews from Montana have been dispatched to fight fires in both California and Alaska this year.
And there's more news from across our state on the MTN 9 o'clock news. Freezing cold temperatures have blanketed the state. We'll take a look at how homeless shelters are responding to the early season cold. Join me tonight at 9 on the CW.
But first, on tonight's 5:30 news here on Q2, mental health care can be found in the palm of your hand, but not everything is as helpful as it claims. We'll find out what to look for.
And in sports, Q2's Athlete of the Week is about to turn pro in Spartan racing. Not an easy task. Scott has her story.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.